That night during our intimate moment, I accidentally scratched the tattoo on Jiang Man's back. It was an exquisite narrow-necked vase with lifelike orchid patterns. I thought he would laugh it off as usual, but unexpectedly, he flew into a rage, leaving me feeling hurt and confused. Later that evening, seeking solace, I randomly joined a relationship advice livestream. The viewers all took my side, suspecting Jiang Man might be unfaithful. Only the host, Feng Wan, with her world-weary face and sharp tongue, differed. She seriously asked me, "Is your boyfriend's tattoo a bottle?" I was stunned. "How did you know?" Indeed, Jiang Man's tattoo was a bottle, something very few people had seen. How did this random live streamer know about it? Instead of answering directly, Feng Wan took out some copper coins and arranged them on her table. She spoke softly. "Supernatural beings exist whether you believe in them or not. Sister, your boyfriend definitely has an issue. You live in the Shanghai district, near water, don't you?" I nodded, amazed at her accuracy. She continued, "Does your boyfriend bathe every day without exception? Even when he can't bathe, he must at least wipe himself down?" I nodded again, growing increasingly uneasy. Jiang Man did indeed bathe daily, sometimes almost obsessively. I remembered one winter when we got lost hiking and weren't down until almost midnight. While I was worried about getting help, he frantically muttered running out of time and, in freezing temperatures, stripped off his shirt and poured our remaining mineral water over himself. I was shocked he used all our water when we didn't know when we'd be rescued. Later, after local residents helped us out, he explained it away as OCD, saying he felt uncomfortable if he didn't touch water daily. Seeing my expression, Feng Wan seemed to understand. She slowly said, "He's keeping a vessel woman." A vessel woman? I froze, and the live stream chat exploded with skeptical and horrified comments. Ignoring the comments, Feng Wan explained, "He's using his physical body to host a spirit. The bottle is the container, his flesh the vessel, requiring daily water. This hosted spirit is called a vessel woman." Though skeptical, I had to admit that Feng Wan's previous observations were accurate. Jiang Man's strange behaviors suddenly made sense when viewed through this lens. But could something like keeping a vessel woman really be possible? Noticing my hesitation, Feng Wan asked casually, "How long have you been with your boyfriend?" "I'm sure he talks to himself." "For years," I answered automatically, then added, "But in all these years, I've never noticed him talking to himself." The live stream chat erupted in laughter, everyone thinking Feng Wan had guessed wrong. But she merely furrowed her brow before suddenly realizing, "You must go to bed early then. Before midnight every day, right?" I was startled she even knew this. My sleep schedule was indeed very regular, always before midnight. But now it was almost midnight, and Jiang Man was still in the bathroom. "Go check now," Feng Wan said. "Whatever you hear, don't react. Keep your phone with you, on silent." This uncertainty was gnawing at me. I knew I wouldn't sleep until I resolved it. Following Feng Wan's advice, I crept to the bathroom door and pressed my ear against it. I could only hear running water. I sighed in relief he was just showering after all. But just as I was about to leave, the water stopped. Then I heard broken fragments of speech. "Does it hurt?" "I longer. I believe in you." It was Jiang Man's voice, but it didn't sound like he was talking to himself. I held my breath, goosebumps rising all over my body. Everything was silent except for my pounding heart. I shifted position to hear better, leaning in closer. Suddenly, the door opened without warning. I yelped, losing my balance and falling forward, right into Jiang Man's arms. Shirtless, he looked down at me with a slight smirk. "Couldn't wait?" Heart racing, I nervously asked. I was getting water in the living room and heard voices. "Who were you talking to?" Without missing a beat, Jiang Man replied, "Just got a phone call. My sister's in the hospital with appendicitis," crying her eyes out. "You know how she is such a princess, can't handle any pain." I silently sighed in relief. What a scary coincidence. Glancing at my phone screen, I saw Feng Wan pointing to her ear, signaling me to keep listening. I told Jiang Man I was going to get some milk and hurried to the living room with my earphones. Feng Wan said, "Your boyfriend was talking to the vessel woman." Confused, I typed, "Didn't you hear? He was on the phone with his sister." That explains the talking. Feng Wan frowned and said something that chilled me to the bone. "Haven't you noticed? Your boyfriend's phone is on the coffee table." I froze, turning to look. Sure enough, Jiang Man's phone was there on the table. Just then, he walked over and casually tossed his old phone onto the dining table. The live stream chat went quiet for a moment before exploding with comments. Everyone thought it was just a coincidence, that I was being paranoid. But only I knew how terrified I felt in that moment. Feng Wan lowered her voice. "Touch his back where the bottle's mouth is tattooed." You'll feel 2 bumps, those are the vessel woman's eyes. I stiffened but managed to hug Jiang Man from the front when he wasn't paying attention, my hands searching his back. About 2 to 3 centimeters from his spine, I felt 2 symmetrical bumps. Disbelieving, I touched them carefully. Suddenly, the bumps moved. It felt exactly like eyeballs rotating beneath eyelids. Terrified, I pushed Jiang Man away, my face pale and limbs unresponsive. He looked confused, then took my hand and led me to the bedroom. I know I was harsh earlier. Don't be angry, I just had a rough day at work. He pulled me onto the bed, and I quickly flipped my phone face down. When he reached to undress me, I pushed his hands away with an excuse. I'm not angry. I'm just tired. Sleep then. He kissed me as usual and lay down with his back to me. Slowly picking up my phone, I typed with shaking hands. There really are 2 bumps. But some viewers in the chat mocked my ignorance of human anatomy. Of course there are bumps during a hug, those are just shoulder blades. But I knew better. These weren't shoulder blades. The bumps moved, just like human eyeballs. I didn't dare say this aloud, silently bearing this terrifying knowledge. I glanced at Jiang Man from the corner of my eye, about to turn over when I suddenly froze. Where was the scratch I'd made on his back? It was gone. I sat rigid, barely daring to breathe. I clearly remembered scratching him. I'd even used tissues to stop the bleeding. Slowly, I reached for the trash bin near the bed, picking up the topmost tissue. There was still blood on it. I wasn't mistaken, so Jiang Man's wound had healed impossibly fast. This wasn't normal. Trembling, I pointed my phone's camera at my boyfriend's back. The scratch I made, it's gone. The live stream went dead silent. After a while, someone typed, so the host was telling the truth? You're not just acting? I'm terrified. Feng Wan spoke gravely. Most souls dissipate after death, but some refuse to let go. In ancient villages, there's a method to seal a dead person's soul within one's flesh, sustained by someone of the same sex born on the same day. When the time comes, the vessel woman will steal the nourisher's body to be reborn in a different form. She looked up at me. If I'm not mistaken, does your boyfriend place special importance on your birthday? I felt like I'd been struck by lightning, my heart caught in a vice. Jiang Man did indeed make a big deal of my birthday every year, always preparing elaborate gifts and surprises. I couldn't help but recall our first meeting, a moment full of youthful vitality. Fresh out of university and newly employed, our department organized a social gathering. Jiang Man, a department head from another division, immediately became the center of attention with his youthful good looks and gentle, witty personality. I was naturally drawn to him, but back then, I was plain and unremarkable among the glamorous women present. Jiang Man's gaze never lingered on me, which left me feeling somewhat dejected. During the gathering, he suggested a game where everyone would write their birthdates on slips of paper, then randomly draw one to determine who they'd give a birthday gift to. Fate played an interesting trick. Jiang Man drew my name. When he looked at me, his eyes sparkled with surprise and anticipation, and I glimpsed a possible future. On my birthday, he took me to watch fireworks by the river. Under the dancing lights, he gently draped his jacket over my shoulders and whispered, "Meeting you is the luckiest thing that's ever happened to me." My heart melted at that moment. Afterward, he pursued me intensely. For someone who had never dated before, his advances were overwhelming. But his attentiveness and care eventually won me over, and we got together. During our relationship, he was incredibly thoughtful, sharing his salary and never losing his temper with me. Every birthday, he'd take time off work to treat me to fine dining and choose the most beautiful flowers. Even in bed, he was exceptionally gentle on that day, making me feel unprecedented happiness. Often wondered how I got so lucky to meet someone so perfect. However, today's events filled my heart with doubt and fear. When I accidentally scratched him, his thunderous rage revealed a side of him I'd never seen before. Looking back now, every detail seemed abnormal. The way he looked at me was as if he was seeing through me to someone else. The bottle tattoo on his back had many more patterns than before. Under the dim light, those patterns seemed alive, interweaving in complex ways. Holding my breath, I slowly edged toward the side of the bed. Feng Wan's urgent voice came through. "You said you've been with him for 4 years. The bottle woman's nurturing period typically lasts 3 to 4 years. Your body could be taken over at any moment. Stay calm and listen to me. Leave this room now." Clutching my phone tightly, I held my breath and carefully sat up, trying not to make a sound. Barefoot on the floor, I inched toward the door. Just as my hand was about to touch the doorknob, Jiang Man suddenly spoke. "Where are you going?" I jolted, swallowed hard, and turned back. I need to use the bathroom." He faced away from me, only his head twisted to look at me. The movement was inexplicably eerie. His lips curved into an ambiguous smile. "Go ahead then." I walked out trying to appear calm, but my arms were covered in goosebumps. I grabbed random shoes and was about to flee with my phone when I found the main door wouldn't open. In panic, I tried the balcony windows, but they were all sealed shut as if welded. Feng Wan suddenly said, "Take photos of your house layout." With trembling hands, I showed her around with my phone. She said gravely, "Not good. Tonight must be the soul-snatching rebirth ritual. Your house has been sealed with barriers. You can't escape." My heart sank and I nearly cried. What should I do? She replied calmly, "Hide first. I'll look for the barrier's weak point. Remember, stay away from water." My hand froze as I was about to open the bathroom door. Panicked, I looked around before ducking into the study. Not daring to turn on the lights, I huddled in the bookcase with my phone. Online commenters debated fiercely. Some questioned if our story was fabricated for attention, while others pointed out how strange it was that the wounds on Jiang Man's back had vanished. My emotions were mixed. If I had seen wrong, wasn't I being ridiculous hiding here? Just as I was debating whether to go out and check, Jiang Man's voice came from the hallway. Baby, where are you?" His voice carried worry. Soon, my phone started ringing. As I hesitated whether to answer, Feng Wan said flatly, "Answer if you want to die." I trembled, staying still. Outside, Jiang Man kept moving around, checking the living room and kitchen with hurried footsteps. His voice grew increasingly dark. "Baby, are you playing hide and seek with me?" Gripping my phone tightly, I heard Feng Wan through the earphones. His first assumption was that you're hiding, not that you left the house. Don't you find that strange? When I didn't respond, she paused. "If you still don't believe, just watch carefully what happens next." Before I could type a response, the study door clicked open. Through the bookshelf gaps, I saw a pair of bare feet slowly entering the room, leaving wet prints with each step. He spoke eerily, "Baby, where are you hiding?" The room was dark, but moonlight filtered through the uncovered windows. As Jiang Man approached, his shadow cast on the wall revealed something horrifying. Strands of hair began growing from the bottle tattoo on his back, followed by a head emerging, then arms, torso, and legs. I covered my mouth tightly, frozen in terror. His shadow clearly showed a long-haired woman clinging to his back, tenderly kissing his cheek. A harsh, shrill voice emerged. "Where is she?" Jiang Man replied, "She's definitely in the house. Don't worry, she can't escape. Find her, my dear, find her." He resumed calling for me in that gentle voice. With heavy footsteps, he circled the study, slowly approaching the bookcase. I shut my eyes in terror. The footsteps drew closer, pausing for a few seconds that felt like hours. Finally, he turned and left, his steps still heavy, leaving wet footprints. Only after hearing the door close did I dare open my eyes, gasping for breath. The live chat exploded with viewers claiming they saw the ghost woman on Jiang Man's back. Feng Wan warned, "He'll find you soon. You need to hide somewhere else." But where could I hide in our small home? Viewers offered suggestions, all impractical. I pleaded desperately, "Master, save me. I'll pay anything." Feng Wan replied calmly, "Money doesn't matter. You're not as wealthy as I am anyway." On screen, Feng Wan stood up, pacing irregularly before scattering red beans from her pocket. Frowning, she said, "Your house's layout is strange. There must be a secret room. That's where the barrier is. I'm coming now. Find that room quickly. Time's running out." I can feel the bottle woman's spirit growing stronger. By 1 a.m. when the Yin energy peaks, you'll be beyond saving. Hearing no footsteps outside, I carefully pushed open the bookcase door and crawled out. Suddenly, a water drop fell on my neck. "Found you," I froze, slowly looking up at the ceiling to see Jiang Man grinning down at me from atop the bookcase. "You've been very naughty." I screamed, scrambling away as Jiang Man leaped down, hair flying wildly behind him. Terror-stricken, I ran without looking back, bursting into the adjacent bedroom and locking the door, barricading it with the dresser, nightstand, and everything movable. Banging soon started outside. With the woman's shriek, "Open up! Open the door!" I stumbled backward, falling as the door was violently struck, making the dresser shake. Coming to my senses, I quickly braced my back against the door as Feng Wan urgently said through the earphone, "Hurry! Find the secret room. It's in this bedroom." Upon hearing this, I quickly searched the bedroom, and I remembered that when the house was renovated, it was Jiang Man who took care of everything. At the time, I thought the bedroom was a bit small, but he said it was just right. Lo and behold, there was a secret room here. But after searching the room thoroughly, even flat on the floor, I couldn't find the entrance to the secret room. Suddenly, my ankle felt cold, and I looked down to see my ankle wrapped in black hair. Oh! I knocked over a vase while moving a desk, and the floor where the water had spilled started to grow hair. Feng Wan quickly said, "Use a cloth to absorb the water." I hurriedly threw all the clothes from the dresser onto the ground, and the hair stopped growing and broke off. Feng Luan said, "The bottle woman can't live without water. Don't spill any water at all." I was frightened, my chest heaving rapidly, and I quickly poured the remaining water from the vase onto the plants. "Have you found the secret room switch yet?" she asked. "Not yet." I regained my composure and began searching in the dresser. Unintentionally, I knocked over Jiangman's storage box, and I quickly brushed it aside as my gaze swept over the contents. Inside the box were many old items, and a snapshot made my whole body tingle. It was a photo of me and my boyfriend of 4 years, Jiangman, together. The woman next to him? The very anchor who was currently talking to me, Feng Luan. "How did it go? Did you find anything? Are you all right?" Her voice came through the earpiece, causing me to feel an eerie sensation. I trembled as I held my phone, the screen showing Feng Luan slightly frowning, indeed identical to the picture. The camera on the photo then swiftly scanned, and the comments instantly quieted down. I swallowed my saliva and asked, "Who are you? Do you know Jiangman?" The netizens exploded, speculating about the relationship between me, Feng Luan, Jiangman, and the underlying conspiracy behind this live broadcast. Feng Luan remained silent. Her lips pursed. She was about to speak when suddenly, a knocking sound stopped at the door, followed by footsteps drawing closer and closer until they stopped. Jiangman's anxious voice echoed, "Baby! Baby! Are you all right? I thought you had left the house for so long, so I went out to look for you. I checked the surveillance cameras and found you at home. Why is the floor all wet? Why didn't you open the door? Are you all right, baby? Open the door! I'm Jiangman. It's been such a long time since something happened in our house." I looked at the door, which Jiangman just left. Wasn't the one in the study Jiangman either? No, it was indeed Jiangman's face. My mind was a total mess, and I couldn't think straight. Jiangman was calling my name from outside, recounting every moment we've been together. I, almost instinctively, began walking towards the door. I was going to move the vanity table. Feng Luan quickly stopped me. "He's luring you. Don't trust him." I suddenly stopped. My eyes confirmed it, but it was too late to say more. I couldn't find the secret room anymore. I would die. I regained my composure, quickly weighing the pros and cons. The one outside, I don't know if it's human or a ghost. Even though I didn't know what the secret room was, it was at least a way out. If I don't find it, I'll die later. I backed up 2 steps and added 2 more chairs to the vanity table. I remembered a scene when searching for the secret room. Not long after moving into this new house, one quiet night, I was awakened by an inexplicable thirst, and in a daze, I saw Jiangman standing in front of the vanity table, his face gently pressed against that cold wall, his eyes full of longing. In that moment, I thought I was still dreaming. But now, thinking back, the entrance to the secret room might be hidden under the shadow of that vanity table. Suddenly, a deafening sound came from outside the door, followed by a sharp female voice in Jiangman's furious roar, "Open the door! Open it quick! Hurry up!" I hastily glanced at the time. There were only 10 minutes until 1 o'clock. The impact on the door grew even more fierce. The vanity table shook violently. "It's an emergency!" Stumbling, I rushed to where the vanity table originally was, frantically searching the wall. An open door leads to danger. Beware the triangle of walls. The layout of your house exudes an ominous feeling, and the entrance to the secret room is even more sinister. "Hurry, feel under the bed, there's something unusual there." Feng Wan's anxious voice echoed in my ears. I immediately crawled under the bed, feeling from below upwards, searching the headboard wall. Suddenly, my fingertip touched a depression. My heart skipped a beat, and I quickly leaned closer. At that moment, the barrage in the live broadcast room spun wildly. "Look behind you! Hurry! What is that thing? It's looking for you. Be careful." I froze, cold sweat pouring down, struggling to turn my head. Peeking through the gap under the bed, I saw strands of hair wiggling into the bottom of the door, growing more and more numerous, as if they had life. Then, a single eyeball rolled out from the hair and stared at me. "Ah!" I screamed, finally finding the switch and pressing it down without hesitation. A doorway-sized entrance appeared on the headboard wall. Using my hands and feet, I desperately crawled inside, as those hairs started to pull the door open, and Jiangman walked in barefoot. As I crawled into the secret room, I suddenly realized my phone had fallen on the bedside. Without my phone, I had lost all contact with the outside world. I didn't hesitate and quickly reached out. But at that moment, a hand suddenly grabbed my wrist, and Jiangman poked his head out, with an eerie smile identical to the female ghost on his back. He. "I found you." I quickly pulled my hand back, feeling like it was clamped in iron grips, unable to escape. In a desperate move, I viciously poked his eyes with my other hand. I heard a blend of male and female crying. and I took advantage to grab my phone and quickly retreated into the secret room. In that instant, the door to the secret room slammed shut. Feng Wan's voice echoed in my ear. I am in your residential area. I just destroyed one array. The secret room switch is temporarily dysfunctional. He cannot enter, but he won't last long. You need to find something for me. I sat in the darkness, gasping for breath. What do I need to find? Jiang Man's bottle behind him. It was an urn containing his ex-girlfriend's ashes. At this realization, I was struck by lightning, goosebumps rising on my skin. Who are you? I whispered in disbelief. The stranger paused before slowly speaking. I am Jiang Man's sister-in-law. 5 years ago, Jiang Man's first love drowned, and he went insane, starting to search for secret arts to bring her back. The soul-stealing method of the bottle woman was something I used to tell him as stories in the past. I never expected his obsession to be so deep that he actually tried it. The only way to save you now is to find his ex-girlfriend's urn and destroy the ashes. Only then will the bottle woman disappear entirely. Everything felt like an incredible dream. I sat there in disbelief, until the banging outside the door brought me back to reality. I hurriedly turned on my phone's flashlight to explore the secret room. It was laid out exactly like the bedroom, but without any lights. There was a vanity table, a wardrobe, and even a girl's nightgown. Jiang Man had actually taken this place as his wedding room with his first love. Every night, after I fell asleep, he would come here to embrace the bottle with her ashes. Thinking of this scene sent chills down my spine. On the bedside was an album filled with photos of Jiang Man with another woman. I flipped through it and was instantly stunned. All the photos depicted Jiang Man in exactly the same scenes, poses, and even angles that I had taken with him. So from the very beginning, I had become the vessel for his resurrection of his first love. But this room was obvious. I rummaged through the wardrobe and drawers but found no urn as Feng Wan had mentioned. Suddenly, I noticed something on the bed. There were stuffed animals on the blanket, and it seemed like something was bulging on the other side. I swallowed hard and slowly approached, lifting the blanket. There lay a narrow-necked bottle, covered in intricate patterns, quietly resting there. He loved her so deeply, sleeping with the urn at night and returning to embrace me in the morning. Just thinking of this made me feel nauseous, and goosebumps covered my body. Another loud crash echoed from outside. I quickly grabbed the urn and retreated to the window. Jiang Man walked in with a smile, carrying a skeletal figure behind him, devoid of flesh but standing tall like a pine tree, advancing step by step toward me. Baby, what do you have in your hands? Give it to me. My face turned pale as I trembled, reaching for the window. Feng Wan was right. This was a weak point, and only this window could be opened. But I was facing a difficult choice. If I smashed the urn now, the bottle woman would dissipate, and what if Jiang Man's mental state collapsed and took us both down with him? But if I didn't smash it, how could I escape while holding the urn? Give me the urn! Feng Wan stretched her arms toward me from below. Without hesitation, I threw the urn to her through the window. No! Jiang Man's eyes widened with rage as he shoved me aside, leaping after the urn, landing gracefully like a swallow, completely unharmed. Seeing Feng Wan run outside with the urn, I realized that staying in this house meant waiting for death. I climbed out the window, landing on the narrow ledge of the wall, with no other footholds. I looked down for a moment, steeled my resolve, and jumped down. The moment I landed on the lawn, I heard the sound of bones breaking. My leg was shattered. I endured the excruciating pain, crawling toward the outside of the complex. Just as I crawled a short distance, I saw Feng Wan cornered against the wall by Jiang Man. Give her to me! Give her to me! Jiang Man roared. Feng Wan clutched the urn tightly. Her brows furrowed. Your obsession is too deep. Jiang Man seemed to lose his sanity. Just a little more, Nan is about to come back to life. Do you know how I've lived these 5 years? Just get through tonight, and she will return to my side. Haven't you always wanted me to return to normal? Sister-in-law, help me, and I'll still be your good brother. Remember when you first joined? I was the one who guided you. Feng Wan seemed somewhat shaken. She hesitated for a moment and asked, as long as she returns, you won't use forbidden arts anymore? Jiang Man's eyes lit up. Yes. As long as she comes back. All right then. Feng Wan placed the urn beneath the osmanthus tree. She's coming. And the time is almost up. You handle it yourself. The two of them turned their heads toward me. I shivered, realizing that perhaps they had become allies. I gritted my teeth, pushing myself outward, screaming with all my might, help! Someone, please help! Feng Wan rushed over to press me down. Jiang Man smiled triumphantly. Good sister-in-law. I began to struggle fiercely, but Feng Wan whispered, don't move, wait. I froze. Jiang Man walked to the osmanthus tree, and suddenly, a fierce wind blew. The charms attached to the tree quickly burned. Jiang Man let out a painful howl, hugging the urn tightly. Glaring at Feng Wan, "You have trapped me in a yin array? Ha 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 ha. I will let her come back to life, no matter the cost. You can no longer stop me." His hair began to grow wildly, and the skeletal figure crawled out from behind him, with bones crunching. That pair of unsupported eyeballs stared at me, like a dog using all four limbs to crawl towards me. Jiang Man's back was already smeared with fresh blood. At that moment, Feng Wan calmly opened her hands, revealing a handful of ashes. Jiang Man's eyes widened in shock. Feng Wan said, "With no remains, how can she come back to life?" And then she casually scattered the ashes in the wind. A gust of wind blew, scattering ashes everywhere. Jiang Man cried out in pain, "No, don't." Just as the monster's hand was about to grab me, it suddenly disappeared without a trace, like a gust of wind. Jiang Man, trapped in the array, cried out in pain, his voice growing weaker as he stared at me hatefully and reluctantly. Finally, he stopped breathing. I, stunned, looked at Feng Wan. She said calmly, "I'm sorry for scaring you." Jiang Man's obsession was too deep. He was no longer human but a devil, so I had to lure him into the array and erase them both. Feng Wan took Jiang Man's body away, promising her to handle everything. I sat on the roadside, waiting for an ambulance to arrive. Suddenly, on the opposite side of the road, the shadow of a woman appeared. I only looked for a moment, feeling my blood flowing backward. It was the woman from the photos in the secret room, Jiang Man's first love, Anan. Her spirit had just scattered, right? How was she still here? Feng Wan also saw Anan. After a moment of hesitation, she went back to Anan and said something. Anan then disappeared. I looked at Feng Wan with fear in my eyes. She hesitated for a moment and then explained, "She is the real Anan." After Anan drowned, Jiang Man went insane, desperately trying to bring her back to life even though I told him the bottle woman was forbidden sorcery and had never succeeded. He kept insisting. In fact, the spirit he had been holding on to all this time was that of an evil ghost. Anan worried about him and couldn't leave, so she entrusted me to release him from his pain and torment. Because he had hidden his whereabouts, I searched for a long time before finally locating him through you. She just wanted to apologize to you. Feng Wan scratched her head, puzzled. What's strange is that the urn is empty, but Anan's spirit is only dispersing now. I was stunned, pulling a handful of ashes from a pocket in my sleepwear. I might have grabbed some of this, just in case. Feng Wan curled her lips and nodded with praise. 1 month later, everything seemed to return to normal. My colleagues knew I had broken up with Jiang Man, and he was nowhere to be seen. They never mentioned him in front of me. I started to live my own life. During my leisure time, I watched live streams, and Feng Wan's channel had gained popularity after the events with the bottle woman. However, she continued to have a world-weary expression, bitterly complaining about scum men in her stream. I couldn't help but ask, what is the best way to overcome a failed love relationship? Feng Wan lazily raised her eyelids. Clean up, go travel. The next day, I actually took sick leave and bought a ticket to a random destination. I arrived at a coastal city with children running and playing on the sandy beach under the sunlight. I lied under an umbrella, listening to the sound of waves, feeling comfortable. When I opened my eyes again, I saw a naked man's back, and conspicuously tattooed on it was the image of a bottle woman.